This best of three. In the bottom left-hand side from Team Liquid, this is Clem.
And in the top right side, we are looking at the main base of our young Russian, off to a phenomenal start. Can that continue in this series? He used to be representing Cascade, currently looking for a team. It is Skillous.
Should definitely be a fun series. Skillous has been playing well enough, I think, to make this competitive. And honestly, if Clem does pull out the 2-0, Roddy, I'm not surprised or anything, right? I just don't think he'll pull out a 2-0 where he looks like he's completely unbeatable, because I still just feel his TVP's been that little shakier than anything else lately.
Yes, on the other hand, like if the weekly he won 2 weeks ago, he actually looked really good in his TVPs, right? He went 2-0, 2-0, 2-0 in like the round of 16 quarterfinals and maybe a trio even in the semifinals, something like that. And it's actually the TVT that's been stopping him from winning the last weekly too, as he got kind of smacked by Gabe. And that's something that doesn't happen too often. So maybe Clem really has been going back to the drawing board and he has been working on things. I'm just really curious to see what kind of a style Skillous is going to play. I can see Skillous win, but I kind of feel that if Skillous wins, it's going to be one of these games where everything just goes right off the very get-go, right? We stop the first push, we stop the second push, then we get a random medevac somewhere. Just one of these games where nothing goes in favor of the Terran. I do feel that if Clem just gets off to a decent start in any of these games, there is a good chance he just completely runs away with it.
And that's one thing Clem is extremely good at doing. He played against MaxPax in the weekly the other day. Was it weekly when he played semifinals, I think? And it was just like it was like a 25-minute series, and it was 4 maps. It was just like, wow, because he just got off to a good start and he just multitasked his way through those games. It was just like, well, that's like peak Clem, right? Just micro like crazy. Set yourself up in positions where your micro is going to matter a lot, and he can just win those games out of seemingly nowhere a lot of the time.
I gotta say, I'm a little bit surprised to see Skillous have his adept on patrol here, because he scouted with the probe and he saw how early that reactor was. Clem actually went reactor before any unit, but it seems like Skillous still thinks there's a Reaper out on the map, which I'm a little bit surprised by. Skillous is gonna build... Ooh, is that a very quick Dark Shrine in the top left? No, that has to be a Dark Shrine as well then, right?
It has to be, right? What else would you do if you're gonna drop that... Well, I guess just the Robo for now. I mean, I imagine so, yeah. You build Twilight and then you fake it just looking to be like Blink, but actually it's Robo and a Dark Shrine. I can get behind that as the first Adept goes down, though. Nice catch from Clem, removing some of the map control for him, for Skillous early. And now Clem's going to get aggressive, and I think this is one of the worst openings you can have for Skillous defensively in his base. Oh, he's going to start charge.
What?
I like that even less, yeah.
Right now he's got 2 army supply, Wadi. Now there is a good news is that there is a battery finishing up. These Marines are going to find the Stalker, and they will realize that they probably can't kill that Stalker before this battery is done. Even though Skillous needs to respect it. But this obviously is already a bit uncomfortable for Skillous, who's going to end up losing 2 probes. It's not that bad. The problem is just that the Hellion drop has so much potential. But Skillous, I guess, doesn't care. This is going to be one of these games, Wadi. It's going to be short. Clem is going to kill a lot of workers. Skillous is going to kill a lot of workers. And then Skillous is potentially just going to win the game if there is not enough firepower to clean up these Zealots with charge.
Yeah, the defense for Clem is where it's going to really come into play, because he's likely to just have nothing at home. He already gave up a couple of Marines early, and now you've got those Hellions that are going to dive into the Protoss space. He actually has a fair amount of Marines back at home already, though, 7. And if you can deal with the Zealots before they get out of hand, then it doesn't matter quite as much, right? You know, those Zealots are going to hurt the most when there's like 10 plus of them, I feel like. So I don't hate it right now for Clem. But you can see where it's going to go wrong as these Hellions come in to deal the first bit of damage.
Yep, so Clem is going to kill a lot of probes here. Skillous does have his prison with a couple of Zealots with charge, but he's going up to 3 bases, Wadi, so it's not like an all-out, all-in for Skillous, and that really does scare me. These Zealots are going to be good, but SCVs and Marines are going to be good enough to kill a couple of Zealots, while the Hellions still have a buttload of HP on the other side of the map. This kind of stuff is never good for Protoss, guys. It's a lot easier for Terrans to recover from these weird economic openings than it is for a Protoss.
Yeah, I think one of the big things for Clem, right, is that he never actually reacted the Hellions. He just built Hellions off the factory thing, you know, one at a time. And that meant he was always reactor and Marine, so he had so much firepower back at home Whereas if this was reacted Hellions, a lower Marine count would mean that this Zealot drop would have been even deadlier and even more difficult to deal with. So, yeah, I mean, Skillous has just lost so many workers in comparison to Clem. And all Clem has to do now is just ensure that he doesn't take any more damages. Yeah, he still has all 3 of the Hellions that started this out, and he will lose one of them now finally, but not before he goes for a few more final probe kills, and he'll even maybe lift up one more time. Well, who cares? There's a few Zealots over here. Marines are going to deal with that. Skillous is just hurting so much.
Yep, he's not even alive anymore, buddy. This ain't hurting. GG. Clem wins game 1 after killing 24 probes. I mean, Skillous took a chance. You guys were kind of talking about it in the pre-show, switching it up, do something crazy. I actually would have liked this more, Wardy, if your intention is just to win the game. You're not going up to 3 bases. You just completely stop building probes. And you're like, all right, I'm just going to warp in as many Zealots as I can and hope that build order-wise I get lucky. And you cannot deal with 10 plus Zealots. But with 4 or 5 Zealots, you can always deal with that if you pull SCVs and you have a couple of Marines. You make an excellent point about the reactor, but we were never going to have the amount of Zealots that was actually going to win the game there. And yeah, maybe if Clem's build is completely different, I'm sure there are many scenarios where this actually works out really well for Skillous. He doesn't take that much damage at home or takes no damage at all. And then he kills a bunch of SCVs, then it's 3 bases against 2. Maybe he can get Blink behind it. And now it just felt a bit awkward and middle down the road. Yet there are so many holes in your build that I feel like it, maybe a bit too much of everything.
No, I'm with you. And it was kind of like in the pre-show where ZG brought up this kind of idea of, Skillous has been changing it up, but I haven't really liked how it looks when he changes it up, right? And, it's like, it's nice that you try, but sometimes you're just not the kind of player who's meant to be, or this kind of all-in-er, right? And yeah, this build was such a weird mix, because it was like, hey, I'm going to be super aggressive, and then I'm just going to macro. But it's like you say, like, what do you do then? Even if you kind of do some decent damage, you're on charge and not blink, so Clem can drop you a lot. I mean, it's just really rough. And I feel like this is not the build to use against Clem, someone who loves to try and do damage early, he loves to be in your face, because you just have no way then of cleaning up anything that Clem would do aggressively a lot of the time with just charge lots, at least not in a meaningful way. You could force some units to lift back into a medevac, but you're never going to get rid of the medevac.
It's always going to be uncomfortable. I guess the best build you could go up against is just like a regular double mine drop that are not like permanently cloaked. Because let's not forget it, the robo is also in the top left side. So if these are cloaked mines, it's going to take a little while before your observer gets home. Oh well, it didn't work out. The man rolled the dice and he rolled wrong. Let's see what he has in store for us in game 2. In the bottom left side of Blackburn, we're looking at the main base of our Russian Protoss. It is Skillous.
And in the bottom right-hand side of the map, our Red Terran player from Team Liquid is Clem.
I do feel we have to take a little moment to just appreciate how Clem did all of that. Like, he makes it look easy, and we're almost like not even hyping it up anymore because we just know how good this kid is, and we know that he's incredibly good microing multiple armies, and the way that he kept those Hellions alive for as long as he did, microing them perfectly, made sure they didn't get surrounded, make sure he didn't just lose one Hellion immediately against one Stalker, while also kind of dealing with the Zealots. Sure, we lost a couple SCVs at home, but he was killing so much more than he was losing at home. Clem makes that look easy. There is also a world where Terran players messed it up. You get the Hellion surrounded, or you lose the medevac too quickly, and then you do take a bad fight where the Zealots get on top of your Marines, and then they slice up SCVs. It's like, yeah, we kind of take for granted how good Clem is sometimes.
Yep. It's one of those things where he set the standard so high for himself that, what can we do but to, live up to that hype and that standard that he set for himself. So yeah, no, you're not wrong. There's so many players where, and we've seen it many times, right, where this game looks kind of like it should be okay for the Terran, and then the Zealots do get out of hand. They do kill too many of the Marines, and then all the SCVs go down, and well, then it didn't matter how many probes the Hellions killed, if they killed any.
No, exactly. But yeah, it's like you said, we're used to Clem microing 3 armies at once, so the fact that he kind of managed 2 fights at once there somewhat perfectly, maybe could have done a bit better with the SCVs to drill through the Zealots, but it was obviously more than good enough. Yeah, that's just the standard this man has set for himself. I'd love to see Skillous play some Stargate here in game 2. I feel like he is a pretty good Stargate player. I remember a game on Submarine very vividly where he actually did get the best of Clem with some good old Phoenix Zealot. And I was like, hey, Goblin and me are not the only ones who are fond of this. And Skillous actually got a W on that map against Clem. And we do have our Stargate go down. Clem is switching it up though. It seems like he's almost expecting this. And this seems to... Ooh, a 3-Rex even. Oh, I kind of hate playing Stargate against 3-Rex, but there are also protos who are like, no, it's not that bad. If you just make sure you don't do this or that wrong, and then you're ready for the inevitable push that's coming. I don't know how you see it. I always kind of favor the Terran in this scenario.
Yeah, I always say it's like a build order advantage, because I think the main problem for the Protoss is a lot of the time you just have to alter your build away from what you were originally intending, right? So as this Adept, if this Adept commits and doesn't shade out, okay. Maybe would have been surrounded by the other Marines. But yeah, no, there's a lot of the times where, because say you want to go, I was going to go for Fleet Beacon too.
What
that doesn't feel good.
No, okay. Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the part that a lot of bio units are going to hit him with Stim. What? Waddy?
Does he want to go like harass Tempest through the bottom side of the map? I guess so, right?
Yeah, but
I don't like it because of the slow zones.
I think you can get away with against the 5.4k barcode. I don't know if this is the build you bust out against Clem. I mean, an A for creativity, but I feel like we're just going to have literally 0 firepower. And unless Skillous is going to get like 5 batteries or something in his natural, how is he going to deal with the bio units that are going to run to his side of the map?
He's not. I mean, well, what actually is there to deal with stimmed up bio? Like, maybe your Tempest does enough, you keep the Marines at home?
What?
That's the only thing I can see right now.
He's getting the Tempest upgrade too, and he's getting a pylon on the top side of Clem's natural. I mean, this all looks very cool until a bunch of bio units run to the other side of the map, press T, and will annihilate everything that Skillous has. Like, everything. I just don't see a way.
There's no support for it either, right? Because you're invested into the upgrade. I mean, that is expensive as well. Marines are going to start moving onto the map, and, well, Skillous, you're going to have to do some magic with your 2 gateways of warpins you're going to have available and 4 adepts.
And the funny thing is he's getting multiple gateways. It's like Tempest Gateway, but it's not Tempest Gateway with like Charge or Blink or Glaives. It's just Tempest and Gateways. There is no firepower in this army of Skillous at all. Who is going to see the first few Marines? He's like, I think I can deal with that with a good force field. But then you look at the reinforcements that are trailing behind. Now, with a good force field, obviously, maybe this game does go on. Did Clem see that Tempest already by any chance?
Don't think he did just yet. As now there's going to be 2 Tempests together. Clem stims at the ramps. He's the double Tempest. He's going to back away. So the force fields are good for now. But even if you don't die here, Skillous, you have 2 Tempests, which are surely not really going to come into play too much.
If he stims.
Yeah. I think Clem saw that a little bit too late, right? He kind of second-guessed himself a little bit. He scans as well, but he doesn't get it. So that's something at least for Skillous.
It is turning into something. Clem could have just caught a glimpse of a Stalker that was on the top side of his natural. Like, I still feel that Skillous' army is weak, but hey, if this was ever going to work, this is probably the way that it's going to work. I still feel there is so much firepower in this army, though. Now you can't run up a ramp. Yeah, Clem is going to see this, and I actually think he's just going to stim on top of all of this as soon as he gets the chance.
Yeah, I mean, he just stims to the left, right. Make sure you don't even get close to those batteries. The gateway units will not last very long here. And then you've got to fly these Tempests around in silly ways to try and keep them alive. One of them, I mean, they're both going to kind of get away, but then the extra Marines, there's a turret as well, and it's going to shoot down the Tempest. Oh, we recall one of the 2, but this is obviously meant to do some kind of damage as Clem just gets into a better spot. Medevac's coming out, plus 1 attack coming out. The only issue I have for Clem is he might be getting too aggressive right now and overstimming a bit, but even then, he's still trading very well, as long as he doesn't lose all of these Marines.
Yeah, I gotta say, Skillous did do a really good job there in not making sure that it turns into an absolute disaster immediately, but it's definitely not good. He needed more. He couldn't really afford to lose that 1 Tempest. He couldn't afford to recall the second one. There is like a little bit of hope. If Clem didn't have Stim, I'd be like, oh my god, this is so thick. But there is Stim. There is going to be a tank too. They do have that upgrade though, so they're shooting orange balls and they deal plus 40 damage against buildings. But you're right, with the medevacs out, this army is healed up now. And look at the firepower in these Marines.
The medevacs make a world of difference. Just being able to have these Marines full HP again and being able to stim without issue. Because that was maybe becoming a problem when he was still fighting on that low ground. But yeah, he was well on the way. He's now got that +1 attack upgrade lead too, so these fights are just good for him. I mean, Clem, he's gotten rid of the Tempest again, so you're basically resetting this down to 1 Tempest and then a no upgrade Gateway army. I mean, yeah.
Clem is even confident enough now to pick up 8 Marines and send them towards the other side of the map. There is really nothing that Skillous can do. I gotta say though, I'm actually impressed that Skillous, for a split second, I was like, oh my god, all the units are really low on HP. The fact that he even got there, that he started to make me doubt for 0.1 second, I was like, that's actually really good. But it's still nowhere near good enough because this army of the Terran is too strong. There is nothing to deal with 8 Stim Marines. Skillous is just going to have to A-move into this natural and hope that his army can win the game. And I don't think that's going to happen, Marty.
I feel like Skillous heard me and ZG being like, oh, we didn't really like him doing that kind of crazy stuff lately. And he was like, let me show you some crazy stuff. You're going to love it. I know we love it, Skillous. I'm sorry. It's still not quite it, unfortunately.
You thought my DT opening was crazy? Look what else I've got. Tempest with the building upgrades and a couple of gateway units. 26 probes have gone down. Skillous is going to try to rely on these batteries to make the difference, but I think Clem knows that his army is invincible here. There is so much more firepower in his units. And unfortunately for Skillous, he will lose his first best